Hello everybody, my name is Drake, and welcome back to Spooky Scary Saturdays, the show where, as the week comes to a close, I watch a spooky scary movie and tell you guys what I thought about it. This week's episode is Backrooms, released in 2026. If you haven't seen it yet, Backrooms is a pseudo found footage movie. It has many found footage segments, but it's mostly just like a regular horror movie. It was based off of a old 4chan post that got spread around a lot, became kind of a modern creepypasta of sorts, about how there's this plane of infinite rooms and there might be something scary in them. It was a fairly succinct, simple concept in the original post, but since it kind of exploded and got spread around the internet, people have been making their own interpretations of the original post and expanding on lore and more layers and whatnot and whatever. It basically became like a viral meme. I got creepypasta, which is really strange because creepypastas just don't happen anymore. They really don't. It's like the Backrooms and like nothing else. You really don't see this kind of like free use internet horror, like public domain kind of thing, you know? If that sounds like something up your alley, then go check it out, and then come back here to hear my thoughts about it. Anyway, now, just going into this, I have not seen the director's, like, original YouTube series of the Backrooms. I'm going off of it. I get the gist of it, right? I've seen a couple clips here and there, but I have not gone and seen the entire Kane Pixels original YouTube Backroom series. I've just seen the movie at this point. And going off of that, maybe I should go back and see some of those YouTube posts, because those found footage segments in the movie were probably the best part of the movie. Like, the movie opens on this really good, like, tense segment of just walking through these rooms, and really, it sounds kind of stupid, but walking through the rooms is just the best part of the movie. Like, it doesn't have to be anything like crazy scary or anything. There's this kind of, I know people say liminal a hell of a lot, to the point that it's basically overused at this point. But there is something inherently off-putting if you can manage to do liminal space correctly. And I think it really does a good job of honing in on that specific atmosphere. I think this movie would be, like, a lot less interesting in my mind if the sets were not practical. I know there's some CGI in the movie for some of the parts, and I think, like, during the, like, second found footage stretch, I don't think we see, like, some, like, other types of rooms rather than just office space. We see kind of like a pool rooms kind of thing. I'm not sure how much of that was practical. I haven't seen too much of the behind the scenes, so I can't confirm that. But I've seen that, like, the main set pieces were completely 100% actually, like, physically built sets, which is just awesome. That's just the best part. The best part about all of it is that the things that you're seeing on screen are, like, actually, like, were built. Were, like, a built space. That's incredibly novel. If you think about it, this movie is almost an evolution of, like, the haunted house, right? Walking through this giant, almost like labyrinth of just off-putting space. But it's taken to, of course, it's like the literal extreme. And let me tell you, I love, like, haunted house movies and stuff. I think all that stuff is great. The best kind of horror you can do is the kind where, like, creepy stuff just happens to the protagonists. Like, I don't necessarily need a rhyme or reason. I like it when they're just, whoa, there's crazy, scary stuff happening, and that's kind of what a lot of the movie is. There is as the movie goes on, the through line of the logic of the Backrooms and how it's, like, copying from reality, drawing of a dog or whatever, it does get revealed more, and it becomes more of a cohesive. You start understanding the nature of the Backrooms more, for better or worse. Now, with modern, like, internet horror culture, I feel like there's, ever since Five Nights at Freddy's, there's been a lot of obsession about, like, lore, you know, like learning story, cataloging all the floors and the creatures in the background and everything like that. That's not particularly my deal. I don't need a reason as to why the Backrooms exist. I don't need anything. I don't need to understand it. There doesn't need to be a logic to it. I feel like the more you understand something in horror, the less it becomes scary, of course, because the whole, like, unknown part, the aspect of it kind of just goes away, and fear of the unknown is, like, kind of a lot of the basis of horror, really. I always find that the third act of horror movies, they always struggle to make it, like, the scariest because of these reasons. The recent, like, Barbarian and, Weapons, which both done by the same guy, so that's why I'm using that. I think both of those movies' first, like, 2 acts are, like, really well done and creepy and off-putting and have so much tension. And then I think by the third act, when you understand exactly what's happening and the full nature of the threat, I just lose. There's not a... I didn't feel scared at all then. How Weapons basically turns into a comedy at the end. It really does. Now, I love both Barbarian and Weapons, so that's not... I'm just merely using it as to, like, make a point that I think Backrooms also kind of suffers from this problem. Once you get to, like, see the big scary pirate monster, ironically is less scary than just not knowing what's coming after you and all that, you know? It's part of the Backrooms appeal, is that you just never know what you're going to see next. That's part of the scary. You're like, there's no way of predicting the pattern of what you could possibly see. It does a very nice job of making even, like, the simplistic kind of creepy. Like, in the second found footage segments, when he walks into, like, the Christmas room or whatever, that's immediately off-putting. With, like, the almost quite Christmas music, but, like, not quite there. Like, it's not an actual Christmas tune, but it's something's playing in the background that's similar. And there's just a single glowing tree in the middle with, like, a figure there. That's great. That's great stuff. Under normal circumstances, a room with a Christmas tree inspires no fear or tension or anything. But in this case, it's so unexpected and out of place. It just instills this strange liminal fear, maybe? No, I wouldn't say that's exactly what liminal means, but what I really feel like we're at some sort of turning point with horror. I know I'm not exactly the first person to mention this in all of recent history, but with Obsession and Backrooms, both two like first time young director, like Gen Z directors are beating out the like Star Wars and Spielberg in terms of profit, which I'm not dissing Spielberg. Spielberg's my god, alright? Everyone go watch Disclosure Day. That's a good movie. But I'm just saying, clearly society as a whole is, like, turning. And I saw a post that was like, Gen Z now makes up, like, the most, like, percentage of people who are going to watch movies, which I would you'd feel like would be the opposite, because they were the generation... No, me. I'm Gen Z. We were the generation that grew up most on, like, the internet and stuff like that. We were raised on that kind of stuff. Depending on what, like, early, later, Gen Z, you know. So you'd think it would be like, oh, those darn Gen Zers don't want to go out in theaters and socialize. They just want to watch everything on streaming. But apparently no. Apparently it's the old people that are just watching everything on streaming and don't care that much about movies. Apparently so. Which I think, for Obsession and Backrooms, two very enjoyable horror movies, I think this is a good sign that we're getting some fresh new horror blood out there in movies and such. I really can't wait to see what kind of thing like that comes next. Tangent about the state of movies over. Back to the bit more of the movie. I understand why the movie was set in the 90s, so they could have those kind of cameras with the sort of, like, grainy, creepy filter that everyone uses, like those camcorders and everything. But I'm also not entirely sure the movie needed to be set in 1990 or whatever. Like, it didn't seem like that important. It really did seem like, oh, now we can use a camcorder. We're allowed to use camcorders. But it didn't affect much else at all of the story. But that's, like, super minor nitpick. This is a bit less of a a nitpick. Doesn't mean I thought it like ruined the movie or anything, but still something I need to mention is that I just did not care about the main, like, actual, like, cute, like, the character plots of the movie, about, like, the therapist and everything. I did not care about the therapist's character at all. I didn't need to, really. I could still quiet, and I did not need to care about that. Or I thought it was fun how the main guy, the owner of the store, like, I kind of liked how much he was into the Backrooms by the end, how he became obsessed with it by the end. That was an interesting point, but I didn't really care how he got there. I didn't really care about, like, his backstory with, like, his divorce or whatever. I really didn't care. I couldn't get into any of the characters' backstories or anything. But it's really for this kind of movie, where the enjoyment of it for me is just based on the premise alone and seeing all the cool sets and the fun visuals and the atmosphere and everything. I really couldn't care less about that kind of stuff. Would it have been an even better movie if it had the best characters of all time? Probably, right? But it's like, really, I don't think it matters that much. I thought the little segments with, like, the pirate captain, or when he was like doing the advertisements, everything, very charming stuff. That's not a part of the original post of Backrooms post at all. Like, there's no mention of any of that kind of stuff. So I think that was a really fun decision. And then having the pirate monster at the end, very fun, very fun stuff. I don't think I would ever really want to see a sequel to Backrooms, though. I feel like if we start going too much into the lore and too much into explaining everything, what's going on with the government and everything, I feel like we would lose that kind of mystique, you know, and that's really the draw of this kind of horror, is that it would lose that ominous atmosphere if we started knowing way too much and everything, which is kind of a shame. I definitely want to see what he does in the future, though. Like, I want to see what's next. What's next for him? I think there's a lot of potential here in his directing style and everything. I don't even need it to be necessarily more found footage, kind of internet creepypasta kind of stuff. I would like to see a more, like, original premise from him. That's what I want to see what he would think of. Even though most of the stuff in it is original, besides the broad concept. But still, I really want to see a pure, unadulterated, just like his horror movie, right? Yeah. Anyways, what did you guys think about the movie? Was it the worst movie of all time? Could you have made a better Backrooms movie? Do you think that directors are not allowed to be 20 years old? Because I don't, because that means I'm older than him, and I don't like seeing younger people be successful, because that makes me upset. Makes me very upset. How dare you be successful, sir? I am boycotting his movies forever. For the rest of the time, forever. Yeah, that's all I have to say. See you guys next week.